everybody and welcome to today's vlog. Now today's vlog is called Pink Cocaine and No Visa, and these are some of the points that I really want to focus on in today's vlog as fresh information comes out, which is accurate information about what happened during the death of Liam Payne. I think it's exceptionally important to only share true facts about what has happened to try and dispel all of the fake news that's out there. I want to get across, like I did in my previous video, I am not monetized at all. I will not have any financial gain of any kind from making this video. Not only that, there are no product placements. I don't have any way from YouTube of actually earning any money. And I think that's really important when it comes to knowing who's actually telling the truth, why they're putting that information out there in the first place, and who properly to believe. I will not gain from this. I just want to dispel an awful lot of myths about what is going on out there at the moment. So I'm going to focus on the partial autopsy, the toxicology report and things that have been brought out by that. I want to focus on the last few days with regards to the visa and why Liam Payne was still in Argentina so many days after his holiday should have ended. I want to focus on the hotel, his third stay. It was his second hotel. There was a bungalow, Hotel 1 and then Hotel 2. I want to focus on Hotel 2 and their duty of care towards this young man. Also, I do want to have a quick look at the drugs that are involved. Now, this is more of an education thing for myself. I mean, I have a teenage son and I had never heard of pink cocaine before, ever. So I want to have a look at the things that were actually found in Liam Payne's body during this partial toxicology report that has now been released. And then, due to information that I've seen, unfortunately, I have seen the death photographs. I only saw it for a brief moment, so I wasn't completely sure what I was looking at. But I have looked at a very, very reputable news site who's pieced together some information regarding that final moment on the balcony, and I want to share that as well. Again, it's just speculation. But what they have to say as an idea does completely make sense. And I'm going to say that at the end to the conclusions that were drawn as to why he was on the balcony in the first place. So let me get on. Just like last time, there's a lot to get through. So I'm going to refer to my notes to be able to make sure that I don't get anything wrong. For me, it is all about the truth and just dispelling any of the rumours of non-truths with regards to the death of Liam Payne. So, when Liam Payne was in Argentina, his visa for the United States expired. He applied straight away again to be able to get a new visa because he had just started renting a property in Florida with his current girlfriend. However, there is apparently a section on the visa where you have to be honest about any drug or alcohol misuse. Now, because he had previously spent time in rehab as early ago as July of this year, it's only a few months ago, he spent 2 days in the Priory in England. So because of that, he had to tick yes. So his initial visa application was denied. With that, he's out of the country. He's in Argentina. He had to go to the US Embassy in Argentina to reapply. As part of the reapplication process, he had to have all of these tests done. He had to go to a doctor, he had to have drugs tests, he had to have physical and mental tests just to make sure that he, was clean, bless him. And these tests were actually carried out prior to his death. Unfortunately, prior to his death, though, he didn't have any timescales as to when his visa stamp was likely to be produced. So he was there unknowingly. Now let me talk a little bit more about the visas because these are exemplary person visas. Now I do have the details here. It's a 01 visa for the United States. Now these come with 1A, 1B, 1C. There are several different types, But basically, if you're an exemplary person, the way that it categorises it is individuals with extraordinary ability or achievement. And the spheres that this can cover is if you are exemplary within the sciences, education, business, athletics or athletes, in the arts, motion picture, and also the television industry. So these visas are for those people. And of course, with Liam Payne being a member of One Direction and also then being a solo artist as well and a TV presenter, he had just recently started a TV competition in the United Kingdom as well. He did fall under this exemplary person, but of course he had the drugs in the background, which was a bit of a stumbling block at the time. So, moving forward with that, he did start off in the bungalow with his girlfriend, Kate. They went to Hotel 1, where I believe his temper then started to spiral due to the stresses of not being able to go home. It is reported from inside his camp that he was struggling mentally at that point and he just wanted to go home. They had only started renting their property mere weeks before all of this had happened, so you can imagine he probably just wanted to go and restart his life again. In the weeks prior, just a couple of weeks prior to his death, he'd been dropped by his management and his record label, so he had no professional backup whatsoever. By the time Kate left, the story goes that he just had one friend with him called Roger that was at both the hotels, and Roger was sort of going around apologising for his behaviour, saying that he did have episodes like that, but probably wasn't in a professional capacity able to deal with the spiralling problems. Kate did leave to go back home to be surrounded by people that could possibly help her, through no other fact that she was just miles away from it all. So there we go. That is the reason that he was there on his own, without a visa, waiting for the paperwork to come through for him to be able to carry on with the rest of his life. And it must have been very daunting being there on his own. The next step in what we want to talk about is the behaviours in hotel number 2. So he was in a position where he was completely on his own. But with him being a rich and famous person, there are people that are, I suppose, enablers. And in a country like Argentina, this is not speculation, this is actual fact. It is quite a corrupt country. People that work in hotels are probably seeing the rich and famous people slightly like cash cows, where they can access drugs, prostitutes. That kind of seems to have been the case here in hotel number 2. 2 members of staff have been questioned. 2 members of staff have actually been dismissed by the hotel because of their involvement in this. Somebody who worked in the cleaning side of the hotel apparently had a taxi drive to his home to be able to pick something up, which is believed to be the Dove soap box, which contained the drugs. Again, it seems really unfair that the hotel, through its staff, provided the things that caused the behaviour for this young man to then be thrown out due to his behaviour when it was enabled in the first place by the hotel. That doesn't seem right. Let me get on to the drugs themselves. So the initial toxicology reports do not have the amounts of drugs in his system. They can only tell what was detected. So this is what was present in his body, but there is no way of knowing how much at this moment until the rest of the results are through. So from the partial autopsy, he had crack, cocaine, benzodiazepam, and also pink cocaine. Now, I've heard of all of the rest of those. I had genuinely never heard of pink cocaine before, ever. Never in my life. I didn't even know it was a thing. So it is pink. It's not pink because that's how it comes out of the manufacturing thing. It is coloured, it is dyed purely for an aesthetic value. So it's either put in with pink food colouring or strawberry flavouring. I don't know how this is ingested or snorted or smoked. I don't know whether or not it needs to smell or taste of strawberries. But that was an expert opinion earlier today when it came to what this pink cocaine actually was. This is made up majoritively, unfortunately it's a street drug, so it can be made up of absolutely anything, including washing powder and chalk, but the actual drugs inside of it are methamphetamine, ketamine and MDMA. Now MDMA, if you're unfamiliar with that, because I thought it was a credit card company, is actually ecstasy. Also, in some instances of pink cocaine, there is also, like the ketamine that I mentioned before, to a street value or amount to the amount that killed Matthew Perry last October. Again, we don't know how it was cut, we don't know how pure it was, but ketamine was the cause of his death, and it would be so tragic, awful, if it was the cause of another death as well. But again, it's a street drug. If you take it, it could be made with absolutely anything. So that's the drug. I also want to get onto the sex workers, because the sex worker part of this is just unbelievable. This guy had got one of the most attractive girlfriends in the world. You know, she was a really beautiful thing. I can't believe, well, I can believe, but I don't want to believe that he would stoop to such a level, being as famous as what he was, and sleeping with 2 prostitutes. And the evidence at the hotel seems to suggest that he might not have done as well, because he went up to the hotel room with them. Yes, that's a betrayal of trust, but did he know that they were prostitutes? Remember, this is a corrupt country. Not all of it, obviously, but there is a lot of corruption in it. The hotel staff are on minimum wage, if even minimum wage. Are they paid commissions to provide drugs and prostitutes from cartels or other types of things? Is it in their best interest, their financial interest, to provide these for their rich clients? If so, that would place these 2 local girls, these 2 sex workers, in the hotel, going up to his room. Did he think that they were fans? I mean, they might have been fans. They were young girls. Everybody's heard of One Direction. So they could have been fans as well as sex workers. Then after they've been up in the room, there's a big argument down in the lobby. And this is a bit that another news source, a really reputable news source, has concentrated on. If he'd paid for their services or had their services and then they'd left, then there wouldn't have been an argument. But there was apparently an argument down in the lobby, which suggests to me that they expected to be paid. And it also suggests to me that he might not have known that they were prostitutes. Again, it's pure speculation. But if you paid for a service, like somebody comes and does your ironing, they come up to your room, they do the ironing, they leave, they're paid, no argument. So did he know what the service was? Is what a lot of news outlets are questioning. Again, pure speculation. There is no fact around that. He might have done. But if he did, would there have been an argument about it? Who knows? The next thing I'm going to get onto is the worst thing for me. It's absolutely, truly harrowing. I did look at Twitter, doing my research, and as soon as I typed in Liam Payne, it came up with the horrific full death photograph, which I turned off as quickly as I could. I do not expect to open social media, even for research purposes, and then be hit by a young man dead's body. I was horrified. I'm devastated for his family that that even goes out there. And I did read this morning as well a interview with Chris Cornell's daughter, who had recently discovered photographs of her father after he'd committed suicide, had been put onto the internet. And I can't imagine the pain of a family having to see that firsthand. Horrific. As part of the death photograph, when I turned it off, there was something that sort of lingered in the back of my mind, like he'd got something around him, but I thought, well, maybe somebody tried to resuscitate him. Maybe it was helpers that had left something, or ambulance people. I just remember seeing something, because it was such a vivid white t-shirt, sleeveless t-shirt, and then something draped over him. On a news outlet, seriously reputable, that I looked at this morning, they said that he was carrying a man bag. So it was something that possibly had passports in it, money in it. This is not the actions of somebody that is going to commit suicide. He'd not had the bag with him in the lobby, or if he did, he had it to the side of it. Here he's wearing it over his shoulder. Again, I couldn't make it out from the video, but now, sorry, from the photograph, but now it was mentioned, I think, yeah, actually, that was a bag. So he's got this man bag over his shoulder. It's also facts that when he was part of One Direction, they were locked in hotel rooms for months. The screaming crowds, everything that went on. There were people everywhere trying to get in with these men. The cat is about to come and join us. Let me just put it on the floor. Go on, Mimi. So, because of being locked in a hotel room for so long, they became escape artists, and they specialised in being able to shimmy onto the balcony, down the balcony, and make a break for freedom. Is that what Liam Payne was doing here? He'd had an awful time at the hotel. He'd had an awful time in Argentina in the last few days. And all he wanted to do was get away. So theory one was he trying to leave the balcony, but then fell? Theory two, the sheer amount of drugs in his system, it's not beyond question that he possibly thought he could fly. You know, you hear about it all the time where people try and turn into Peter Pan, think that they've got super abilities that they genuinely don't have. And unfortunately, it doesn't end well when they do think that they have it. But of course, that's a possibility as well. Was he, you know, one of the drugs that he was on was a hallucinogenic. So did he think he could fly? Who knows? Again, speculating. The third one is, and this is harrowing. He was taken from the lobby by members of staff, and at the time he was apparently convulsing, taken up in the lift, placed in his hotel room, and left after he had been convulsing. Did he expect to go to hospital? Was he on the balcony to get fresh air because he wasn't feeling very well? Did he put his bag on because he thought that he might be going to hospital at a later stage? Had the hotel staff told him that they were going to call him an ambulance? So he was just getting ready, so he'd got his ID on him, gone outside, got some fresh air because of the convulsions, and then fell. So they're my three things, really. Did he try and climb off the balcony? Did he try and fly off the balcony? Or was he there just getting some fresh air, thinking that he was going to go to hospital in an ambulance? Who knows? What I want to see happen is there to be a thorough investigation of how this young man was left in a room on his own in that state. I think that decision to leave him there ended his life. And I would like some conclusion to that as to how they deemed that to be the appropriate outcome, that he would then have that happen. So that's it for today. You know, I'm looking at all of these notes. I'm trying to get everything out there as positive as possible, but more importantly, as factual as possible, because I am sick to death of seeing all the lies surrounding this young man. It just doesn't seem fair at all. Like the last video that I did, I put the link to the Samaritans Helpline down in the blurb below. If you are struggling out there with anything, whether it's related to Liam Payne's death or not, please talk to somebody, please get help. It's not nice struggling out there. Thank you so much for watching. We are a family orientated channel. We only normally do a diarised thing about what we get up to on a day-to-day basis, including horses, animals, cats, as you've just seen walking across. We never normally go as deep as this, and we never venture into the news. But I have been so disturbed by the false reports that I've seen. I just want to get as much of the truth out there as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Bye bye.